This is ESBR Boxing, and I'm delighted to be joined by Greg for this special betting tip, kind of extra. Obviously, we are talking about Anthony Joshua versus Jermaine Franklin, the return of AJ, April the 1st, O2 Arena in London. Anthony Joshua is back. He's fighting Jermaine Franklin. Greg, first and foremost, thanks very much for joining me. How are you, and are you looking forward to this fight?
Thank you so much for having me, Paul. Yeah, really looking forward to the fight, mate. It'll be good to see AJ back against a level of opposition that's been tested by another top heavyweight in this country. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he's like with his new training and things. So thanks for having me, Paul. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Obviously, we'll have another insight, big fight breakdown kind of about the return of Joshua, but this video is solely all about betting on the fight. So, Greg, without further ado, I'll throw it back over to you. If is there anything in the odds so far, any bets that have kind of caught your eye?
Yeah, there's a few there, Paul, that I think that it's worth us looking into and seeing what kind of value we can find for people watching the content. But it's a very, very hard fight to find good value in because I think the bookmakers have got Joshua at 1 to 12 to win alone, 2 to 7 for the stoppage. You're then having to be very exact about what's going to happen in the fight to try and get something in. I think AJ, he might try and put a statement on Franklin, especially with it being such a hard fight with Dillian White that Franklin had. And there's nothing like catching your man cold early. So I had a little look, and rounds 1 to 6, it's 6 to 4. That seems to be some of the best value about. So I think that's probably going to be the first one that I would look into, Paul.
Yeah, brilliant odds. I think it's interesting. There is a lot of talk. One of the main talking points about this fight is, will Joshua come out and try and put on a performance, get a stoppage that we haven't seen him have in quite a long time. I hope he does, but mine kind of links with yours slightly because yours is obviously first half of the fight, so rounds 1 to 6. The first one that I'll mention is Joshua to win by stoppage in the middle third of the fight, so rounds 5 to 8. So again, obviously, both of our tips technically could come in if it's round 5 or 6. The reason I've gone for round 5 to 8 is because Barr, early on in his career and up till he fought, let's say, Charles Martin, even the Dylan White one before it was middle rounds. A lot of Joshua's knockouts have come in the middle rounds. I think lately, anyway.
Yeah.
Franklin, I know Joshua will want to put on a performance and make a statement, but at the same time, Franklin is no mug. I know it's not the fight we wanted to see for Joshua, but he is no mug. He showed that against
Yeah.
Dylan White. Dylan White carries a huge left hook and is a big puncher in his own right and couldn't really put a
Yeah.
huge dent on Franklin until the very end. Um, so it kind of remains to be seen how it's all about how Franklin takes that first shot from Joshua, that first clean right hand, left hook, whatever it is. But I'm going to go for the middle third of the fight for my one. So if you've got any, is there any more, Greg, that you think have kind of caught your eye?
Yeah, there's some good value there, Paul. It's very hard to disagree with what you're saying because a lot of Joshua's stoppages have come round about the middle stages. And like you said, Dillian White didn't put much of a dent in Franklin, but I feel like I'm going back to shades of our Usyk content. But if Anthony Joshua comes back as the bad man, he could do damage in 1 to 6. I really, really do feel that way. So the second one that caught my eye, all depending on how Anthony Joshua comes out. Um, Sky have got a special on at the moment, and the odds on that for 1 to 4 is 4 to 1. Now we're talking about the heavyweight game here, Paul. It takes one shot to end it all, and just because Jermaine Franklin had a good performance against Dillian White doesn't mean that he's going to put in a great performance against Anthony Joshua, because I believe Anthony Joshua hits harder than Dillian White. So I think rounds 1 to 4 at 4 to 1, even if you're throwing a cheeky £5 bet at that, whatever, obviously the content viewers, of course, only bet what you can, but I think that there's value to be made in that. See, even if it goes to the fourth round, I mean, for £5, you're still £25 up. For 10, you're 50. So I think that's the second one that I would look at, Paul.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think it all depends here on if you're backing Joshua to win early, if you really do believe he'll come out and put on a performance, there definitely is value there. I think that, yeah, first 1 to 4, that is brilliant value. We've seen Joshua as soon as he lands on some people, we've seen them fold before. So who knows? That might
Yeah,
happen with Jermaine Franklin. Can't really disagree with what you're saying either. I'm kind of
yeah.
going at it from
Charles
a different
Martin.
angle. Yeah, exactly, precisely.
Yeah.
I'm going at it from a slightly different angle of I think Joshua will get the stoppage and will look devastating, but I don't think it's going to come in rounds one, two, or three, maybe the fourth. So my second one is looking at it in rounds 4 to 6 for Joshua
Hmm.
KO, and it's 3 to 1. So not as good as your 4 to 1, but I'm probably playing it a little bit more safe, and I'm almost relying on this tip for Franklin not to fold within the first few rounds. That might well happen, but I think there's something about Franklin that just. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think he'll win this fight. I don't think it's a close fight really, but something can tell me that he can last at least a few rounds here, which is why I've gone for rounds 4 to 6 as my second one.
Nice one. And what were the odds on that?
3 to 1.
Oh,
So
interesting, tasty.
decent enough odds. There are some decent odds here.
Yeah.
So yeah, is there is there anything else there that you'd maybe want to not necessarily tip up, but is there anything else there that kind of caught your eye that you think is interesting?
Yeah, the only other one that caught my eye, Paul, and it's almost probably the opposite of the two tips that I've gave. I think Joshua's either going to come out and look devastating early, or he's going to come out, and we know that he sometimes now likes to. I don't want to belittle Anthony Joshua, but sometimes he comes out now and he looks as though he tries to look a little bit too much into the technicalities of boxing, tries to spring his jab off, look a bit elusive, one hand down. If he starts that, number one, he's in for a tough night's work. I think he needs to really put it on Franklin. But if he does, the only other tip that I can see there that looks as though it's decent value, but I would advise to take it as part of an accumulator on the night. Anthony Joshua in rounds 7 to 12 or points is basically it's almost even money. It's 4 to 5. Now, if let's say if he comes out and he's a slow start and he tries to build his way into the fight, that's almost a guaranteed bet. So I think that that's one to maybe consider looking at the fight as well, Paul.
Yeah, and interesting there, Greg. It's obviously an interesting caveat there that you mentioned. Completely on the flip side of your first two, but I can see
Yeah,
exactly where you're coming from, with your thinking of that. Because again, I know he's come out and he stopped a lot of people early, but recently, even in the fights Joshua has won against, Ruiz in the rematch, Pulev even, they've been, that bet of yours would have come in the 7 to 12
yeah,
more points. So yeah, I think it's interesting. And you mentioned there obviously enhancing an accumulator. That's kind of what I'll throw out there as well for my um, final one. So, I've obviously mentioned Joshua stopping, and I think Joshua will win this fight. But another one
yeah,
is just like looking at the under over rounds markets. So I was looking at that, and there is some value to be had, in my opinion. And I don't see this fight going 8 rounds. So under 8 rounds, so 7 rounds or less, for the fight to duration is 10 to 11. So again, almost even money there, which I
yeah.
think is decent enough odds to enhance your accumulator. Whether that be, you've got a treble or whatever it is on the night, and you need something there to boost your odds back up. But I think the 10 to 11 for under 8 rounds kind of caught my eye too.
I think what it is, Paul, that's a good bet, and I can completely understand where you're coming from. But I think that this is one of our toughest betting shows, I would say, because number one, Anthony Joshua is a heavy favourite, and we're looking for value in this. Now, I know I've went to both ends of the scale. I realised that after you pointed it out, but my main gut feeling is that Joshua needs to come out and make a statement here, and it needs to be early. It needs to be in rounds 1 to 6 to say, heavyweight division, I'm back. This guy went the distance with Dillian White. I'm leagues above Dillian White. I'll show you that when I fight him, if that comes in the summer or what have you. But I just think if Anthony Joshua is not coming out here and looking to really put it on Jermaine Franklin early, then I'd be very, very surprised. So I think early in the fight is where I'm going with. But AJ needs to come out and look for it. If he comes out and looks for it, I think it's very realistic.
Yeah, I completely agree, mate. I think we're both in agreement that early enough in the fight, you may be slightly earlier than me, but I think we're both in agreement that this fight isn't going the distance, and we can see it in favor of Anthony Joshua within the first half of the fight, I suppose. Well, that's all we've really
Yeah.
time for, Greg. Obviously, as the fight approaches, we'll have plenty more content relating to Joshua Franklin as AJ returns to the ring for the first time after his 2 losses against Oleksandr Usyk. We'll have big fight breakdowns, more betting tips for some of the fights on the undercard, perhaps prediction videos, and yeah, just a whole lot of other content. So Be sure to look at our YouTube website and follow along on social media to see all of that. Greg, thanks once again. Really appreciate your time, and I'll catch you again soon.